Porlock the Warlock and the Indigo Swan, Episode 2. It was the next morning when Porlock had finished getting up and wandered into his kitchen to look for breakfast. It was then that he saw the strange whiteness of much of the previously mahogany and black-beamed kitchen. As he put down a foot, a cloud of fine dust seemed to rise up inexplicably. The cupboard doors were closed, but still it looked as if someone had tried to make a ghostly kitchen of his nice orderly space. And then he saw the sticky trails, which looked like nothing so much as new strains of huge snails. Snails that left not silver trails, but red ones, and yellow, and dark brown ones. Yuck, thought Porlock so loudly that it could be heard down the passage, even though he hadn't actually opened his mouth. What in the name of, he said, and this time he did say it aloud, but stopped short when he saw, plain for all to see, a footprint on the flowery shopping board, a smallish footprint, as it happened, a left-footed footprint. Fast asleep in their bedroom in the nice neat beds which Porlock had built for them, in the airiest room of the whole dwelling, with even a tiny shaft of sunlight coming down the lesser chimney turret, even the deep sleeping Mitzies were awoken by the roar of rage that shook the corridor outside and seemed to have come from the direction of the kitchen. "Lor, did you hear something?" asked Fag, opening one eye and then the other. "What was that?" asked Rag, waking up with a bang, and not without apprehension. "Can't have been from the kitchen, can it?" They looked at the time. They had stayed up so late that they had overslept their usual waking out, and it was indeed 9 o'clock, the time when Porlock made his breakfast. "Do you think he's found something?" asked Fag. "I've got a feeling we might not have tidied it all up as well as I thought we did. We were very tired towards the end," answered Rag. "Very tired. Poor Mitzies," agreed Fag, but with a speculative note in his voice. They doubted somehow that Porlock would feel very sorry for them in staying up so late to raid his larder, that they were then too sleepy to clear up the mess which they'd made afterwards. And this was exactly how Porlock saw the matter. After he had tidied and cleared things up, the help of a guilt-stricken Mitzi was of questionable use. He was still saying sternly, "And I do not make or buy an excellent selection of relishes just to be guzzled down by you two as soon as you return, especially not as supper was a handsome size, and in any event there was no need for the mess. I shall be walking on bits of broken cracker at the edges and under the cupboards and in corners for weeks, whatever possessed you." But later, when the Mitzies were alone, they said to one another, "It's a good job we've got our plan. Yes, hasn't he got bad-tempered living alone?" When Porlock came back from his after-lunch ramble, he found them penitent. They had warmed his slippers for him by the fire. They were rather too hot and a trifle singed at the edges, but he knew they meant well, and the fire had been made with that week's paper which he hadn't actually finished reading, but again he knew they were trying to please. Later on, after supper, the Mitzies were strangely insistent that Porlock should accompany them on a walk. They wouldn't say where they wanted to go, nor why, but they were very keen on going, and on taking him with them. Porlock gave in. On the good side, he thought at least he'd know they weren't in his poor kitchen. So off they went, with a smouldering sunset just beginning in shades of crimson and dark old gold. Out of the rock door, and when Porlock turned to shut it, nothing could be seen of the entrance. That didn't just look like an enclave under a rock, just another hummock on the rocky summit of the moor. The turf porch with its curving sides, walling in the door, looked like no more than just another place where the grass met the stone, if a little more sheltered than most. And there was now no sign of the bell pull, Porlock having mended it and put it back where only those callers who knew where to look would find it. They set off down the hill, the Mitzies in a determined fashion, and Porlock more leisurely behind. As they walked, the blazing sky began to darken by degrees, and the sun sank slowly behind the hills. It was a beautiful evening, but, being high on the moor, it was starting to get chilly. But the Mitzies made their way ever downward and in the direction of the coast. "Anyone thinking of turning back now? It was a lovely sunset," Porlock mused. "Oh no, the evening's still lovely. Yes, and we're not tired yet." Fag had been about to ask whether Porlock were tired, but saw that it wouldn't answer for their purpose if Porlock said he was, and so refrained. "Just a bit further," Rag remarked untruthfully. Some miles further, twilight was turning into night all around them, and while it was less cold in the valley, the walk home would be distinctly on the cold side. "Surely we've gone far enough now?" Porlock asked, getting tired. As fit as he was, he had of course already been some distance that day. "It's got dark." There was no denying this, but Rag said, "Just a bit farther," and Fag added, "We're nearly in Minewell, so we might as well just go in and look on Merrill. Now we're here." They had come farther even than Porlock had thought, and the Mitzies were right in thinking that once so near the town, the argument of just dropping in on Merrill would be enough to carry them all on. "Oh, so we are. Oh, all right then." And Porlock's face lightened a little, for fond as he was of silence, mayhem in the larder made him doubly appreciative of rational conversation with someone who was not in a constant state of restlessness and racket. But they were not going in any way that he knew. "That's not the right turning," he said to them once they were all in the town itself. "We, found a shortcut," they chorused. Porlock shrugged to himself and then followed them. They would soon find that they were mistaken, and then they could all go to Merrill's and have a nice cup of rococo. Well, the Mitzies could have cocoa, and he would have some with a drop of rum in it to keep the chill of the evening out. But before he knew it, and the Mitzies always seemed to baffle and bewilder one somehow, they were on the seafront. The dark waves lapped at the chill shore. "We can't go any further," Porlock shouted to them, as they were a little distance ahead, with a mixture of amusement and annoyance in his voice. But the time had come for the Mitzies to execute their plan.
To be continued next fortnight. What is the plan? Will Porlock get his shot of rum and